Had a chance to visit with Lloyd Cushenberry yesterday. Now we're joined by a guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage, former LSU defensive lineman Breiden Fehoko, good enough to spend a few minutes with us here. Breiden, how are you, man?
Good. How y'all doing? It's a pleasure to be on with y'all.
Dude, it's so good. Man, you know what everyone loves so much about you, man, and your whole family. You're like the most positive people. You know what I mean? You like your family has so much positive energy. Where does that come from?
I think it's just a little bit of a lower spirit. Try to share a little bit of that when I got to Baton Rouge, and hopefully it rubbed off on just a little bit of people before I got to spend my time there.
I mean, I think that's kind of obvious, right? Like, what do you think is is the most lasting effect? Like, what do people talk to you about most, really? Your time in Baton Rouge.
I guess, like you said, just the positive energy, just the joy of not just myself, but everybody getting to interact with my family throughout the time being, from fans to coaches to fellow players. That's just, the impact I got to take away from my time being the BR.
We're going to talk much more about that in a second. Let me go back to it this past week, though. Of course, you got to go play in the Hula Bowl. If you would, walk us through that experience, man. What was it like for you getting to go line up in that game and kind of start, I guess, in a way, your pro career a bit?
It was awesome. I mean, throughout the week, I just wanted to approach it as a professional. I just wanted to show scouts there that, we don't just know how to play the run at LSU. We know how to get out to the quarterback as well. So I felt like I was able to do that pretty well. I mean, along the way, I got to meet with almost every team and also Coach Quinn of the Falcons. So that was pretty awesome to meet.
Do you get feedback from the teams and from scouts at events like that?
Yeah, definitely. Most of the time they want to interview you, and some interviews may last 15 minutes, some may last 45 minutes, but most of the time, they want to know about you. They want to know what you see as your strengths, your weaknesses. Really, it's getting to know you as a player, and then ultimately they'll ask questions as far as where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And then they give you feedback on, hey, this is where we see you. This is where we want to see you in pro day. This is what we expect. And so it's a lot of expectations, but I signed up for this sport, and I'm all for it.
So between now and, let's say, pro day, combine, draft, what are you working on most?
Really to show that I'm an explosive athlete, to show that I can put up some good numbers on the field, and then, crush the weight room while I'm at it.
So all right, take me in the weight room, right? Bench, squat, like you max, give me some numbers.
Okay, so, my last year at LSU, I was able to throw up 515 on bench. Coach Moffitt.
So
Coach
crazy,
Moffitt
man.
Coach Moffitt told me to stop because I had just came off of bicep surgery 4 months earlier. So he had told me to stop, and then in the spring I squatted about 605 with ease, and so 345 power clean. So I mean, LSU was able to get me to peak performance. Coach Moffitt, I give him all the credit.
Who's stronger, you or your dad?
Of course, I gotta say my dad, because he's probably listening. He'll probably he'll probably beat me if I don't say him.
Breiden Fehoko's with us for a couple of minutes here. He's on Twitter at Breiden Fehoko4. Hey, go back if you would to your recruitment to LSU. Like culturally, going from from Hawaii, then to Texas, and now to Louisiana. Like, those are three completely different worlds. What was it like when you got to Louisiana for the first time?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I thought I thought everybody spoke like Coach O in Louisiana, and so that was a big shock. But ultimately, I enjoyed the people there. I enjoyed everybody there. I enjoyed the food. I mean, the food was one thing that if I was going to transfer somewhere, coming from Hawaii, all we eat is rice and some type of chicken, meat, protein. And so Louisiana filled that gap for me. And then ultimately, man, we played good football at LSU. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time there.
You know that LSU fans loved having you here as well. Based on what your expectation was, though, when you signed with LSU and how ultimately it all played out, how did the reality match what your expectation was?
I'm not going to lie. I always felt like LSU always was a championship contender from when I transferred to, when I finally got here. And then we all seen it. 2017, we came out and beat BYU, a highly touted BYU team in New Orleans. And then week 4, week 5 against homecoming, we ended up losing to Troy. And so at that point, you're kind of thinking about, did I make the right decision? But I never doubted it for once. I knew my gut feeling was right. I knew that LSU was the place for me. Last year, we ended up playing in a New Year's Six Bowl, and this year ended up winning a national championship. And so Coach O was able to get the right pieces in place, and he turned that program around, and he's going to still keep that program, that juggernaut going.
At what point this year did you know with this 2019 group? Like, at what point did you go, I thought we could be good, but, man, yeah, this is different?
When we were in fall camp, usually it's always defensively we're bullying the offense, and this year it wasn't like that. It was like a heavyweight bout every day in fall camp. The receivers and DBs were going at it. The O-line and D-linemen were going at it. Like, I sit back and think about it. Like, me and Rashard were over here battling with Sadiq and Adrian every day. And then to go and see Adrian McGee, what he does against Vanderbilt, and then Sadiq, what he does against Georgia. Like, these are the guys we went up against every day in practice. And we've seen it every day, the competition. We elevated each other. I mean, you knew we weren't going to talk about national championship, but you knew we were on the verge of something great.
How did the defense, which you had that lull after Texas, right? A lot of guys got injured.
Yeah.
Well, let me start there then. So you kind of what happened there from your best estimation, where that was that lull in the middle?
I think when I look back at it, I think Texas really gave us a good fight, and ultimately that same Texas team ended up beating a really good Utah team in the Alamo Bowl. And so I think people kind of get it mixed up when they look at it and they say, okay, Texas was maybe 7-5, this and that. But to me, at the same time, like, Texas was able to do some things this year that I don't think a lot of people expected. And so when we played them, I mean, we got Texas's best fight. Like, we were gonna get Texas, the old Texas Longhorns, and they came out and they gave us a good swing, and they showed stuff on film that they didn't show years prior or the week before against La Tech. And, unfortunately, we had guys go down, and it always hurts when you don't have a solid rotation up front,
Mm-hmm.
That kind of hurt us a little bit, too, because, I mean, I think Texas ran a total of like 98, 97 snaps that game, And, when I look back at it, that was a good game. I think that was kind of like the identity of our team. That's where we found our identity. I mean, you look at the offense, passing the ball with 2 minutes left on 3rd and 13, that played from Joe to Jay Jet. That was kind of the identity of our team. Like, we're going to put the dagger in people, and we're going to keep competing to the last second. So that's what my take on it is. I think that game really shaped us to the team we were this year.
Couple more minutes with Breiden Fehoko. Y'all follow him on Twitter at Breiden Fehoko 4. Guys getting ready for Combine, Pro Day, Draft, all coming up. Everyone points to the Ole Miss game as the turnaround. Am I oversimplifying it, Breiden, and saying at that point the defense just realized we ain't gonna play like this, and you just flipped a switch?
It's when I look back at it now, like, during the season, I was like, okay, you know what? We just did this. We didn't execute this and that. But when I look back at it, I think when I see it from this point of view, I think the SEC is just filled with great athletes. I think a lot of people don't realize that you're gonna play great athletes week in and week out. 1 week you're playing Jared Judy, the next week you're playing John Rice Plumlee, and not a lot of people know about John Rice Plumlee, but I think a lot of people after that game really recognized, like, hey, this kid's gonna be talented. He's only a true freshman. And it wasn't really about us trying to turn around our defense, because our defense was always good. We just needed to find what we needed to do well, and I think what we needed to do well was just letting guys play football. As you see towards the end of the season, it was really just us playing football. It wasn't really, we need to scheme this, scheme that. We ran the same scheme all year. It was just a matter of, hey, just go out and play football. It's the same game a lot of us have been playing since we were kids, and why make it harder than what it is?
All right, I got 2 more things for you. One, do you have a preferred I don't want to say destination, but do you have a preference when it comes to an NFL team or a franchise or even like, would you rather be out west if it comes to it? Like, what's your thought there if you had the perfect scenario?
The perfect scenario. I would want to say LA. Who doesn't want to be in LA playing primetime football? But at the same time, those state taxes they're a beast.
That's a smart kid. Oh my God. Breiden, I have done some version of this interview for more than 10 years with guys and you are the first ever to talk about taxes. You are on your way, my friend. 50 years from now, you will be a wealthy dude on your way. Good for you, man.
Shoot. I hope that's perfect scenario. If the governor of California can somehow, decrease state taxes by 5-10%, then shoot, ship me to the Rams ASAP or the Chargers.
Your family, the Haka that went viral last year. Could you have? Obviously, you don't imagine anything in that moment is going to do what it did. But what's it like when you start seeing the number climb and the attention that got?
So what's crazy about it is, like, if you go to Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, every high school, the University of Hawaii, like, it's tradition back home. You know, it's our culture. And so when me and my dad and my brother did it first against Georgia, we didn't expect it to be like, some viral thing. And then as it took off, and we seen it on ESPN, we seen it on Bleacher Report, Sports Center, like, this was something I was like, oh, wow. And what really stood out to me about it was not the fact that it went viral, but the fact that the people of Louisiana, the people all over the country, was more interested to learn about my culture by seeing that video. And that's really what touched me to a sensitive point was, while these people really care about my culture, the Polynesian culture, they really want to learn about it based off of video. And that's really what intrigued me is people started following me, asking me about, like, what more about your culture. Like, what do you guys do? What's it like in Hawaii? What kind of food do you guys eat? Is this like a traditional thing? What are weddings? What are celebrations like? And so that to me was really awesome.
You're a great representation of your family and your culture, man. It's been a joy for a lot of LSU fans getting to watch you here these last 3 years, man. And certainly the way your family embraced the culture as well down here, man. So it's totally reciprocal. You're gonna have a lot of people cheering for you forever, man. I wish you luck as you get toward the draft and whatever the future may hold, man. Watch out for those state income taxes, all right?
I'll try to. I appreciate y'all for having me. It was a blessing and it was an honor.